everyone. Hi, everyone. It is lovely to see everybody today. We are doing a little bit of a spur of a moment live, which I do sometimes, as you do know. Today, though, let me take off my glasses. So today, I was thinking about putting out some more content because this last 2 weeks I've been really on everyone else's lives. So other than our interviews for Poly by Nations, I've been really you know going on to other people's lives and things like that. We don't want to forget our own channel. You know what I'm saying? That's important too. So if you've never been here, thank you guys for coming to visit. Hopefully you'll stay. You'll like it enough. You know what I'm saying? You'll pull up a nice chair, cozy spot, and come visit with us when you guys have spare time to learn more about relationships and building better relationships, about poly, about just learning how to be a healthier person. And even if you just want to watch the journey of someone else doing it and get ideas, right? Because we all learn from each other. So, that's what we're here for. So, I definitely want to share that and we want to give some great advice today. Our topic today, poly talk. So, obviously, we're going to be talking about a little bit poly information. And that conversation is going to head towards the dating multiples. And I know we always talk about we always date multiples, but when you're dating couples, it is totally different. We also are going to probably go ahead and talk about um, management of time and a little bit about maxes of dating maxes, and we'll talk a little bit about that. So thank you guys for joining today. I am in a little bit calmer mood, so if you don't get that high energy, I apologize today. But I'm sure you will see all my sarcasm come through. I promise you, because you know, even at my worst, I don't lose that. Don't lose that, right? So I also want to give a big shout out to all the men who have been coming through and helping me. And we're going to get some ladies on there too with our channel and our little series, Poly by Nations. If you don't know what that is, check it out. Poly by Nations is a conversation about different locations outside of America and what it's like somewhere else, their customs, their ideology, all kinds of things. And then we also talk about what does poly relationships look like outside of the United States. So we obviously have touched a couple of places. We've been talking to Taylor Made, we talked to King of Dreams, and we also have talked to Andre, and we talked to them, or I say them because him and his wife have a channel together. And it's very lovely if you guys see that. So please check those out. And maybe next time we'll have Andre back with his wife Andrea. So it's Andre and Andrea, and then we'll have a conversation about their relationship if you guys would like. So it is wonderful that those individuals have come and reached out to me, and then we have some other conversations that are going to be coming up shortly. So into the mix, okay. And before I just hop right in here, let me go ahead and just post this real quick because we are live. I don't really tend to care if anyone's in here while I'm live because I usually, like I said, I've been trying to go live in the afternoon, and I'm aware that in the afternoon that there's not a whole bunch of people like on here. So I do just want to just go ahead and share my live real quick, and then we'll have it over there. So let me do that. And while we're setting up here, okay. So anyway, let's dive in while we're doing that. So I uh, have dated couples before, and I'm actually starting to talk to a couple now and getting to know them, and that's really interesting. It is interesting for several reasons. One of those reasons is because it is different. Even if you're poly and you usually date one on one, even in poly, it is a little bit different when you date couples. And yeah, I have a method that I believe works, which is you have to date them individually and together. A lot of people, what they want to do is they want to date everyone together at the same time, the same speed, the same energy. And I'll be honest with you, I don't believe that's the best way. I'm not saying it doesn't work. I don't think it's the best way. Let me get this little glare off my glasses. I don't like that. Okay. First reason why I don't think that works the best is because you're dealing with two separate people and they have different ways of connecting. They have different ways of enjoying things. The speed that they get to know you is at a different rate. Um, all kinds of things. And so you don't want to be the person who is um, trying to get to know two different people and it's starting to get overwhelming. So some people they think they could jump into that, especially if they're trying to aim for a tripod. Which tripod, if you don't know, is where there's a couple and they want to have one person, a woman or a man, come into a relationship and it's just them, just those three, which which is fine. But like I said, at the end of the day, a strong tripod is one that can stand not only together but individually. And a lot of people don't value that sometimes because they think, oh, okay, well, especially if you're a woman going into a polygamy situation, you're like, oh, I'm going to connect with the man and we're going to have this great thing. And then we'll just be sister wives with the woman. And we just, I'll see her and, she'll just be there and I have to be okay with it. Um, Even if you're platonic with that woman, you want to be able to know that you can enjoy her by yourself. And what I mean by enjoy her is enjoy conversation. Talk about what you like and dislike. You still have to go through that process, even if it's platonic, because this is a person that you're supposed to spend a lot of time with. And unfortunately, if you don't know that, most polygamous situations, you're going to be with that woman or around that woman more than you're probably going to be around the man. Just off top, this is just in general, you're going to be around the woman more than you're going to be around the man, and that is just because that particular dynamic. The man is usually the head of household. He's probably working. He's not home as much, and you're going to be around the woman most of the time until however you guys worked it out, where you have time one-on-one with that particular partner. So yeah, you want to have a good bond with that woman. It doesn't make sense to jump into something and you dislike the woman that your partner has decided to live a life with. That's really just not a good idea. That is for room for chaos. Do not do that. So that's definitely a no go for me. But some people do that. They do have relationships, and they do well. If you guys have never seen the TLC series, the Sister Wives, and like you see them, I don't know the whole story right now, but you see them kind of, they're breaking up and there's different things going on, and they're polypod. And the thing is, when that gentleman was adding new wives, especially the last one he had added, the other wives weren't really in tune with her, and they actually didn't have a lot of say or anything in that process. So it was a problem, and you could see that problem throughout the years they were married. And I understand that men want to lead, and that's wonderful, and you trust your partner to lead, and there's nothing wrong with that. But in the same breath, these women didn't even build a bond with her separate. It was just like, here she is, boom, boom. And I don't think that's the best structure for a strong pod, regardless. Now, you can start off that way, but at some point, you need to introduce yourself, and make a bond with the other partners. Okay. So, definitely that. So, let's talk a little bit more about when you're, like I said, when you're dating couples. So, also another thing that happens when you're dating couples is, a lot of times people think you're going at the same speed when you're interacting with them. You're not. Just because they're together doesn't mean that you will connect to them at the same pace. Or one person may want to move slower and is not ready to do things as fast as the other, and the other one may be gun ho and ready to go. So you gotta kind of pace yourself. So I will suggest most of the time someone ever asks me, when they're introducing a third partner, is to do some chats, which are nice, but individual chats and have couple chats. I actually will say I don't even think a couple chat is really necessarily needed, but And the only reason I'm saying that is especially if they're already poly, um, and they're together, they're probably with each other quite a bit. So they kind of interact. You'll end up interacting with both of them at the same time at some point. But if you feel like you want clarity and you're not sure about particular things, or you want to have that group chat, absolutely. I just don't think it's a requirement to have the group chat, but it's nice to have, especially if there's room in your mind for a little bit of doubt, or you're just not sure if somebody's really on the table. When you're in a group chat, it's hard to hide things because everyone has access, everyone can see. Um, so that is something that you can utilize. But also, if you have the individual chats, when one person is going a little faster than the other, that's fine. And one's going a little bit slower, that's fine. And also, another good tip is realize that the relationship that you're having with that person. So let's say there's two of them, right? You got a couple. The stuff you talk to with, I'll just give a woman and man situation. The stuff you talk about with the wife, you may not talk about with the husband. And then so if you're over here talking to the wife and you're you're having conversations and they're telling you things, that's your time to have a special moment that you're getting a special moment that they're treating you with that information. They feel a trust for you, they're giving you insight about them. And then when you go to the other way, the husband, the same thing. So I don't think you necessarily have to share what the other person told you, or that you know things all the time, because that's the special bond that you're building, and that's not including the other person. So it actually is a lot more work to date couples, and I would not suggest dating multiples of couples, because technically, even though you're dating a couple and it seems like it's one, is not one, it's two. So if you have a cap of three, if you have a cap of three partners, and you're dating two, and you have another partner, you're dating three people. And then no matter how you look at that, and then depending on how much they need or don't need, emotionally or physically, you may not be able to handle even that. You may not be able to handle three. So you got to know your numbers. And so we always talk about that. And is like how many partners are your limit. When you're poly, you should really get that feel. You should know what that is. If you don't know and you're by yourself, test it out. Test it out. Find out if you can manage more than one. I'm not talking about two. Keep going and see. Now, I'll be honest, it's very unrealistic to go past eight. Even if you're solo poly people, they don't connect with partners all the way fully. And what I mean by that, not mentally, I mean like they always are going to want to live by themselves. They're going to have particular times. They're very independent. So if you're solo poly, the amount of partners you have will probably be very high, because your partners already know you're like, this is what you do, and you're not allocating all the moments to them, and you're not doing that with anyone. So in that fashion, solo poly people will have higher number of partners. They always will. Okay. But in a fashion where you're just maybe dating, you want a few partners, you're going to know, you need to know your limits. And then also not only knowing your limit, because okay, for me example, I tell people this, that I have a very high tolerance. um and I have put, I know I can manage eight, and that is hard. But I could manage eight. It's a lot of energy. And on top of that, you have to not only allocate your time, but you also need to know your partners and their needs. So if you have partners who have very low needs, your numbers can go higher. I do not wish to go past five. I don't. And the partners don't all need the same thing. There's some partners you maybe never have any sexual interaction with, but they're still a partner with you. If that is the case, then obviously they don't need your physical time all the time. So those things will change. So if you have partners who, let's say you have a few partners that have a need for you emotionally, they need more phone time, they need to talk more. Um, your number may be like five, like I said, but you're like, I have three that are very, very emotionally need a lot more of my time and support. I can only do four. These particular combination of people, I can only do four. And then you'll have to just know that and then just stay in that realm if that makes sense. Okay, so knowing your number, realizing who you're dealing with, knowing the time you can give to them, knowing what they want and what they need from you, and then kind of figuring out that combination that works for you guys. So that does take time. So when you're dating couples, be aware of that. That if you only think they count as one, they don't. They count as two individual people, and then you can see how many you have. So, like I said, if you're already at four, you say my limit is five, and then you date a couple, you didn't went to six. You might have to revise and really think about if that's what you want to do. And if you do go over that number, just realize that you're gonna have to rearrange some things. Your time's gonna look different, and you may, upset some partners. To be honest, so you want to realize that and make sure you're managing that. So, one of the next videos I want to do is time management with your partners. And I hope I can get a panel here and have some more people come on here because I want to talk about time management as a poly person and what that looks like. Not only with myself, but with other people who have been poly. I want to bring them on so they can kind of talk to you guys about what it's like having multiple partners and what that really looks like. I think that would be a really great conversation because I know people just look at me and they have a conversation with me about me having multiple partners, but what does it look like when there's other people who have partners, and what is it like for them? And that people can give a little insight or see a little bit insight of how that looks and what it means. So I definitely want to do that. And then, like I said, I haven't seen anybody make any comments yet. So hey, how are you guys? Just joining. It's nice to see you guys. We're talking about dating couples and what that kind of entails. Sorry, I just need that water there. Um, and what that entails, and we were really trying to talk about the amount of partners we have. Not right now, sugar, go that way. So we definitely we definitely talk about today is, like I said, having multiple partners, what that looks like, and what are the challenges with that. So another one is, a lot of times if you're dating, um, like I said, same thing with the text messages and communicating, same things with the dates. You want to have individual dates and dates together. It just builds a great foundation. You really want to work on your foundation. One of the things I always tell people is you're only as strong as your foundation, which is a shirt I had made because I really feel that way. If your foundation is shaky and you don't have a good foundation, at the end of the day, there's going to be problems. There's going to be issues. There's going to be shakiness, right? So you want to be able to be like, hey, I can stand alone with one partner or the other. If something ever happens to my other partner, I know the other one will be there just as much as the other. And then so that when you do have breakups and things, it's not a total loss and you're not losing more than one person. Because a lot of people are like, oh, I'm so devastated when I break up with someone. Oh, imagine breaking up with two people because most of the time these couples are married. So if you do break up with a couple, you're losing not just one partner. A lot of times you're losing two partners. You're not losing just one. That is usually the case. You're not going to just lose one partner. You're going to lose both. Because they've, obviously they decided a long time ago that they dedicated enough to each other to be lifelong partners. And if you're just joining in, they haven't made a decision to do that with you yet. And so once, you get into a relationship and they decide they don't want to be with you, yeah, you're losing too. So you gotta be able to make that connection with them individually. And then also it makes it uh to a point too where you could possibly be with one later on. Because like I said, depending on how they date, they could maybe end up dating separate, which some married people do that date separate. They do not date together. They date something called table poly, and that's where um, people who are married, they basically say you can come to the table and my partners can all sit at the same table and we can be cool together. So if that could be something too. So you got to figure out how you want that to work. You want partners to live together. It is a process, and you shouldn't rush the process of finding partners, and you shouldn't rush what it looks like because things change. And you may even decide that your dynamic you thought you wanted may not be the only thing you wanted. Maybe you'll change it. So you definitely want to be open to that. Think about what that looks like, and then go in there. Okay. All right. So I want to hit those up. Okay, so we talked about that. Let's check this here. So yeah, definitely want to hit those up. If you guys are interested in dating couples, it is a lot easier to find a lot of people looking for one person. So couples will go out and they look for one partner. One of the things that comes up with couples that a lot of people complain about, who are in the poly world, is that there is a what is it? A hierarchy. So there would be like, oh, no one's gonna be at the point where my wife is, no one's gonna be where my husband will be at, and that bothers new partners a lot of time. Um, like, who wants to feel like then they get in the relationship, they're never gonna be like your wife? And to some degree, I do agree that your wife that you've been with for 15 years is going to be ahead of the woman that you just met. But that's just because she hasn't had that time, hasn't put in that energy that your wife 15 years has. She's gone probably through ups and downs and yeses and nos, and the new one has not. And so to think that she has a deeper understanding of you, or has got to that point, is a little unrealistic. Uh, but to say that they'll never get to that place, I don't know if that's actually true. Um, and what I mean by that, because a lot of people are like, oh, well, that doesn't make sense. But it does to me. Well, let me give you an example why that makes sense to me. So let's say you go into your job and you're an electrician and you learn all the stuff. You become like the head electrician. You know all the ins and outs of that, right? Once you've learned the ins and outs of that job, the ins and outs really don't change too much. Now, equipment being used and all that, they may change, but the actual skills and the math and all that behind it are basically the same. So once you hit, the top head electrical engineer, like you're just a top head electrical engineer, and you're great at it, unless you're someone who's inventing more stuff. That's it, right? So then when another person comes in who hasn't been there that long, but they got out of school, now they're learning. Once they get to the point where they're like, hey, yeah, I haven't done 15 years, but I've done a whole bunch of stuff, and I'm now considered a top engineer in the field also. I don't have as many years, but I surely, I've learned quite a bit. You've been here 15 years. I've been here for 9. And when you get to 9, they say you're about the top electrical engineer also. It's just I don't have as much time. Yeah, my experiences may have been different. I don't have as many experiences yet, but I'm still basically a electrical engineer specialist. That's why I say yes, they can get to that place where they are like your wife to that degree, where the experiences, the getting to know you to that degree, yes. Do they know what happens when you do this? Yes. Do they know what you like and what you don't like? Yes. After you get to that place in years, and just like the other person put in years, you're there. Have you been there longer? Yes. But the experiences may have been different. You may have interpreted them faster or slower. Sometimes you'll get with a person. I think people really don't think about that. You may get with a person, and they may open up to you a lot faster than they opened up with their other partner. So yeah, you may have took 15 years to get your husband to open up all the way to you fully, but it only took me 8, and he opened up fully to me. And that can happen sometimes. And I think people think, oh, well, that means he likes you more. He was, no, for whatever reason, their connection was different, and he got to that safe place faster. And it could be he got to that safe place faster because he took 15 years with you, and he's a little bit more relaxed now. And so he allows someone else to get to that place a little quicker than you did. So that could happen also. So please take that in mind when you have partners who are new, and you're a couple and you want to have that experience, have this great experience, and you're like, I think people get triggered like, oh my god, my husband's gonna leave me, or oh my god, my wife's gonna leave me, because it took me 5 years to get her to say I love you and be open to me, and she's been with him 1 or 2 years and she's already there. Her life experiences have changed the way she does things, and the person she's with also may have changed the way that she's interpreting, how she's taking that love, how, those two bonded. And so don't compare yourself and the relationships that your partner has with other people, because they're not the same as yours. They're not the same. The experience is not the same. And even when you try to get close to the other partner, because you're just trying to be close to the other partner, your experience with them won't be the same. And you have to remember that, and don't deem that as a negative thing, but deem it as a special thing, because your connection is special with your partners. They are special, and that connection can't be made with anyone else like it's being made with you. So, appreciate it, value it, understand it, and, don't get in your own mind and think that takes away from your experience, because it doesn't. It really doesn't. Your experience is your experience, and, you shouldn't want your experience to mirror someone else's, to that degree that you can't function. You know what I'm saying? So don't let anything get in your head. Take your time, get to know your partners, and remember that connection is going to be very, very special for both of you. So that is one thing with the couples and the hierarchy of relationships and putting one above. I don't think you should do that, but some people like that too. So so since other people like that, we're gonna tell you some positive things about hierarchy in poly. Sometimes hierarchy is very valuable when you're establishing partners who live with you and partners who live outside of your home, or even when you're establishing where a partner lays and what you will allow them to do. And what I mean by that is, so there are some privileges one partner may get by living with you. And then those privileges your partner outside your home won't get, because they have not reached that point in your relationship to, take the steps to get to that place. So you have to know that difference. So then, yeah, that may be helpful when one partner is like, hey, I've dedicated my life to you. I've put in this work. I'm showing you I want to be here with you. And the person who just stepped up, they're getting, everything exactly how I am. Now, that may be helpful for them to identify their place in your life and where they are moving towards, or what they would like to have. Because if you give privileges to your main partner who's in your home, and you're like, hey, the privilege of living in my home is that you get a meal every day, blah, blah, blah. And then the other partner who doesn't live with you or something, hey, you don't get that particular specialty, or you're not going to get that every time, because that's a special privilege of being in our home. So you're making that distinction so that when they do decide to maybe move to a different step or level in their life with you, then it's like, this is the extra special things I get for taking this initiative step. And if I don't want that, I still know where I stand in my relationship, and it's still good. So identifying the hierarchy in your relationships can be positive, with identifying for your partners, like where they stand in your life. Um, and it could be good. Now, me, I don't really believe in hierarchy that much. Even though my partners kind of participate in it, I don't participate in it. And you're like, how can that work? So basically, I say, once you reach love, we're at love. I just love you, and it's just what it is. But my partners are like, well, we are different stages with you. Hi, Kings and Dreams. We're at different stages with you, and so we should get different treatment. And I just say, yeah, whatever. Now I do say, yeah, whatever. But they will make it. They will do it. I don't do it. And I have strictly said that I do not make love my partner is different. Once you get to love, I just love you. But they have made a distinction that they have agreed upon, where, hey, you know what? No, don't do that for me. Do that for him. Now, if they do that, that's between them. I'm not going to do it. But if they ask me to do something a little bit different, I'll just say, okay. I just kind of go with it and let them lead that ship, because it's not something that really affects me. And what I mean like that is, like, if they want to feel that, then, and that makes them feel good, and it helps our pod work and function better, that's fine. It's fine. I don't have to do too much of anything different in those situations, so I don't. It doesn't bother me. Okay, so yes, shout out to King Dream stop by and everybody else who stopped by. So dating with hierarchy is interesting. I've seen it work. I don't really necessarily like it. I just feel like like I said, once you hit love, I just love you. If I don't love you yet, and we're just having that experience, then yeah, no, I don't love you yet, and that may look a little different. That may look little different. I may do certain things, but you're still my partner, and I still value you and your opinion. That's how that works for me. Um, but yes, I do try to make a distinction between people who I'm not with and people who I am with, people who I'm just dating, vetting, than the other ones. And that's really important. We've talked about in another live, check that one out, is, you know, which I might redo that one also, but it is about making sure there's a line between friendship and um, your lovers. Some people don't have a line. And people are like, oh, I know I have a line. There's a lot of people who don't have lines, and you just see it every day. That there's not really a line between friendship and lovers. The line that you usually see between friendship and lovers is only usually sexual. It's only usual sexually. That's your distinction. Oh, well, I'm not trying to touch on them, or I haven't had sex with them, or I haven't. But you see, even the fact that you're saying you haven't done it yet means that you may have thought about it. You just didn't do it yet. Or if you had the opportunity, you may do it. So it's just an act you're saying you're holding back on. So my question was, what's the difference between you and a friend and you and a lover? And if you don't really have real distinct lines, sometimes your partners can feel really strange about that and also feel like what makes me different? What makes being with you different than everyone else who just comes up and just wants to be your friend? What makes this experience with you special? And so then you do have to make that distinction, and then you have to think about what you can do. And if you guys need help with that, make some little list here, or some ideas of what works for you guys. We can do that. I'll tell you one that I did because I don't have a line really. One of the ones I did was, cooking like a full meal for your partners. Yeah. So I make something like a whole meal, and then I make like greens. I might give that to someone that I like or something so they can taste it or something. But like a full meal and like all that, that's just for partners. That's not for just regular folks, because that makes my partners feel very, very special. So I make sure that that's something that I just keep for them. Um, even with like some women, even if you're monogamous, this probably will apply. Some women like, oh, my boyfriend doesn't like how I dress. Well, to be honest with you, because you probably don't have a line between friendships and friends. And when you go out, it's confusing because you appear to be available and you're giving access. And we're not just talking about like being with you in person, but access to parts of you that that they get, that they're like, okay, so I only really see her, her in these little short skirts or these little things, and that's attractive to me, and I like that. So why is it that I decide to be with her and she gets to just decide that everybody gets to see it? Like I don't run around in white sweats and let everybody see my print and just be like whatever, or half the time I have my shirt off and sweating everywhere. There's a whole bunch of women around. I'm advertising or showing them things that my partner should only have access to. And not everyone is like that, but there are some people who deem that very special, and you're taking it from them and giving it to others. And so basically, you're making them feel like what they deem special about you, you're devaluing it. So you got to be really aware of what your partner values and don't value. Some partners don't value all that because they're like, whatever. And that doesn't mean anything to them. But if you sat down your little mini skirt, hey, they don't care if they see that or whatever. But if you sat down, you have a whole intimate conversation with this man, they might be like, wait a minute, what's going on? And that may be a trigger to them. They're strapping. That may be a trigger to them because they're like, hey, wait a minute. We have really deep conversation about those kind of things. And usually don't do that with anyone else unless you like them. So wait, pause. What's going on? So it depends on your partner. You need to know them. You need to know them because what you do to one partner may not bother another partner. Um, And that's another thing. So you have to also, if you're a person who is the main partner in your pod, let's say you're the only sex in your pod, what I mean is that there's two males and one female, or two females and one male. If one says, hey, I don't really like when you're doing that, and the other one's like, oh, I don't care, go do what the one who said he doesn't like it, do what he said. Because the other one don't care, but that one does. And so you, if it's, hey, I don't like when you're out here in your two piece at the club, think you're showing a little bit too much for me. I don't like that. And the other one's like, I don't really care. Don't wear the two piece. They're just not, oh, because he said it doesn't bother him and it's fine. So you should just get on board. Always go with the one. Always go with the one that bothers more. Because if he's saying it, it means something. So go with that. And that goes for girls too. If your wife says, please stop going out here with the printout, or can you not do that? That makes me feel uncomfortable when you're talking to women and you touch them sometimes, and people are like, oh yeah, what do you mean? And you're talking to women and you're kind of hugged up with them, and yeah, that makes me feel uncomfortable. I don't like that. I feel like your touching is a little bit much, because that's something that I want to experience with you, and I don't like when others experience that with you. Go with the hierarchy. Now that's where you go with the hierarchy, and the one who says it bothers them, you're gonna go with that one, because that's gonna be the safe zone to be in, and that's where you want to be. Now, if it bothers you too much and you don't feel like you're free to express yourself the way you want to express yourself, then you probably shouldn't be partners with that person, because you're constantly gonna have issues. You're constantly gonna be accused of doing too much, or that's not probably a good match. That's where you need to figure that out and let that be. Because if you're doing too much and one partner's like really bothered by that, and you guys can't work it out, you probably shouldn't be partners. And that shouldn't continue on for a year or two. And now you're like, invested and all. No, let that go. So that's definitely a no go. So make sure that when you do that, you're aware of what your partner needs, what violates them, and then move forth. So that would be the other advice I'd give. And like I said, we were going to go into, we have couples, but we're going to kind of go into other things too. um, we talked about our maxes. Make sure you have a max. Make sure that you're also vetting for a particular time. Have a vetting time set. Because also, okay, so I met someone recently and they told me that they have a 3-month rule, and they had it before being poly also, which is, if I don't see it going anywhere after 3 months, I cut you off, regardless if the relationship is fine, we have no issues, and we're doing good. If I don't see us moving forward after 3 months, that I'm going to not continue our relationship, I'm going to end it. I actually think that was a really smart idea, especially when you're vetting, because if you don't see a future with this person, yeah, you're having a good time, but you don't see yourself really like really being with them, like don't waste their time and your time, get out of there. Same with poly. If you are, don't just hold relationships with people just because you can, if that makes sense. Yeah, if you just because you can doesn't mean you should, because they may be a blessing for someone else, and they may even be sacrificing different things so they can be with you. What I mean by that is, they may know that you need a lot of time, and you may be like, hey, you know what, I don't think this is going to go anywhere. And then while you're saying, but we can stay together for now. And then like 8 months down the line, they had someone come up to them and was like, hey, I want to be with you, but our dynamic's different, and I want you to be in our dynamic. And that person said no, because they were like, oh, well, I'm with them and things are going good. In fact, they're supposed to be with someone else. Like, don't take someone's option to be someone else's blessing because you want to be with them, or you just don't make the decision to end relationships. Make sure you take the initiative to end relationships, especially if you don't see it going anywhere. So I thought that advice, or that theory of dating people, and then when you realize that you probably don't want anything further than what it is, at least let them know that so they can make a decision on what they want to do. Like, hey, you know what? We're cool and everything. Like, I don't mind spending time with you, but I don't see us like becoming very, very serious. but I don't mind spending time with you now. So if like you do find someone else and they want to be serious with you, like don't let me be the reason that stops you from having that intimacy with people. See what I'm saying? Make sure you do that. Okay, hi Dale, how are you? I haven't seen you so long. So Dale is going to do a Poly by Nations with me. So hi Dale. So me and Dale need to figure that out. Go on Instagram and inbox me, please, Dale. I'll forget. I'll forget. I do need a guest for Polybite Nations this week. So if you have availability, we will talk about the islands and where you live and what that's like and how relationships are there and all those great things. So if you have time, Dale, we'll do that this week and we can just record it and we'll do that. Um, and we'll go with that because, we want to keep our Polybite Nations holding strong, okay? Holding strong. So definitely that. Okay. Thank you, Dale. Thank you. So we are also um, very happy to have people subscribing and anyone who wants to, be on the show. We definitely are going to start having an open panel on some days. I am trying to figure out what day works for me and kind of keep that day available so we can have open panel conversations and kind of bring up some more. So I do have some conversations that I would like to hit on that are in a group session that aren't just me, and we can kind of talk about those things. So definitely want to do that. We're going to let you guys also. Okay, do I think 3 months is long? Okay, Kenyan Dreams, 3 months for vetting to see if it's going to be a long time. Uh, I don't know. This is why I don't know. Depending on how much contact you have, some people when they date, their contact is extremely low. Extremely low. I have met people who are like, "Oh, I date someone, but I only talk to them like on Tuesday and Thursdays." Well, like that's and like how long do you talk to them? I talk to them probably like an hour or two. Okay, you're not getting the full, you know, version of that person after 3 months. You need more time. But if you do a lot of full contact with someone, maybe every other day, you talk for 3 or 4 hours, maybe even like if you go to the store, or you may not even talk that many hours, but like you have deep conversation, you actually have intentional conversation. See, that makes a difference. I think that makes the difference with poly and monogamy. Monogamy is a lot of surface questions, a lot of questions, a lot of times aren't even really necessarily necessary in the beginning that you have. So like in monogamy, you'll be like, hey, how old are you? Now these things do make sense. They do make sense to ask though. How old are you? You want kids? What do you like to do? Where do you like to go? uh you know um they're like, okay, like that's it, like what I'm saying. But when you're poly, it's not the same kind of questions I usually hear when I talk to poly folks. The questions you hear is, okay, what is your intention when you date? How long does it take for you to decide you want to be with people? This is what people ask you. Do you desire more than two partners? Do you have male partners? Do you have only female partners? Do you see yourself transitioning from one dynamic to the next dynamic? Do you see yourself as a person that communicates well? And if you do communicate well, how do you communicate? Now, I have seen some people ask those questions on regular days, but not like on poly. Poly, you ask it a lot. I mean, even people who've been in poly, the questions that I find out about the person within the first week are pretty intimate, and it just and the more they get the checks right that kind of connect with you, the deeper that conversation goes. It's not going to be. It's like, okay, well, what religion do you have? If I believe in this, would you be okay with that? It is a lot deeper than most monogamous relationships, where in the first date or something, you guys talk about really surface stuff. Or do you like me? I like the way you dress. I like the way you look. Okay, cool. Okay, yeah. You only really see the good side and you see the part they display. And I'm not saying you don't see that in poly. Please don't get me wrong. You do see it in poly. But the ones who are really more serious about it, they are going to ask lots of questions. They're going to figure it out within 3 months. Yes. They going to know. Within 3 months, they're going to know. Definitely. Before 3 months. I mean, they're going to be, if you're 3 months in, y'all together. That's how I see it. But usually I'll say probably like within 4 or 5 weeks, you really know where you're heading. Um, on a lot of things, kids. The big one that hits everybody is usually financials. Financials is always the big conversation with monogamy or poly. Financials always the big one. With poly, it gets a little bit more, obviously, a little bit more in detail because especially if you have, like I said, more than one partners, how do you like that to look? But like I said, those are questions. Are you solo poly? Are you never going to want to live with a partner? Do you want to live with a partner? If you do live with a partner, if you decide to move or change jobs, is that a no go? Like those are questions people ask when they're poly. I don't really see that in monogamy too much. You'll hear people say, "Oh, I like you. Let's have a conversation about something." Okay, what do you like to eat? Where do you like to go? And you're like, okay, that's it. Like, so it. Most people, I say, at 3 months in monogamy, people are like, oh, I feel like I know them. But I will say, I think about 6 weeks, you get to know if you're deep contact, you get to see what's going on. That's with intent. No intentional dating with no real purpose other than I like you. It takes longer. You can think you know someone and you don't, and then when you see the ugly side of them, you're like, oh, I thought I knew them and I didn't. No, you didn't. You didn't think that. You knew you didn't know that person. You're delusional if you think you did. You didn't even ask them. You don't even know if they take a bath with a washcloth or a loofah. You don't know too much. And then usually, like I said, if you don't live near them, you need to meet them at some point. Probably within that 3 months. It doesn't always work out that way. Okay, go back, baby. I'm live. It doesn't always work out that way. Um, which is fine. I've been with a partner I didn't actually see for like 3 months. And then when I went to see them, I was like, okay, I got a different idea. Seeing the state of how someone lives really changes a lot. And it's not even a bad thing or a good thing. When you see how they live their daily life and you actually are in it with them, it's a lot different because you see what it will look like if you were ever actually to be together in that situation. It just, you can see it. Okay, this is what the daily life looks like. This is what they normally do. You're able to see that. That's why a lot of times people are wary of these long distance conversations, long distance relationships. When it's even with this, as you can clearly see, we all show everyone Instagram, YouTube. You can look like you live in a mansion and you don't. You can look like you have lots of cars and you don't. And you can look like this and that and you don't. Just like, for example, the man who went off to whatever country and got stuck at the airport for $100. He clearly had enough, he saved enough to get somewhere and didn't plan properly. We don't know his whole situation, but at the end of the day, he looked and appeared like probably, that he was doing it big, but he was not. And then when crisis happened, you saw it. So these are things you gotta, take into consideration when you're dating someone. That's why I like, which I don't do with everyone, but I like to kind of incorporate my daily life with my dating life. So, like, if I at work, I might turn on the camera while I'm at work, or if I go to the store, I might talk to you while I'm in the store. Talk about what I'm eating, show you what I'm eating, show you not just the good meals, sometimes the bad meals, because you got to see the whole purpose. Passport Pookie, you're right. So you definitely, you want to know what you're dealing with. You want to know what you're dealing with. I think a lot of ladies, because that's what people say is, I want to see the flashy red light. That means stop. Okay. When women are dating poly, and they see a man looking all, all right. You know what I'm saying? They say, oh, he's got the suits on. I see him in a different car all the time. And he's got another woman. She looks nice every time they go out. And I've heard horror stories where people are like, oh, I went to visit and like they don't got no furniture. They don't keep their house clean. They're very nasty. But when they put on the camera, they just, clean up that one section and then it's dirty. Like you hear crazy things. You hear all kind of crazy things. You you hear all crazy things don't make sense. So you definitely want to, you know, be aware of that. People do that. It won't be just passport Pookie. It'd be like just Pookie in general. And I've seen it, like just bad things. Heard some horror stories. It does apply. Or the men. Oh, we did a video about that. The men who try to pretend that they're doing poly, but they pimping. They pimping. It's pimping. That's what it is. They got 3 or 4 girls. Have to some of them go to strip clubs. And actually, some are nice ladies who are holding good rank jobs, who are bringing in, a good amount of money, and they're giving like half their check to a man, and he's saying, oh, well, give me the money and I'm setting up this and that. And he's really just pimping these women so he can live a particular lifestyle. And their delusion is, oh, he's just organizing and I get to be with someone. And the fact that you just want to be with someone, you're overlooking the fact that you're being used, and it's not worth it. And some women don't see that. So some people will use poly to hide the foolishness. And you want to be aware of that. You know what I'm saying? So be very aware that there are some people out here who are pretending, because if they can say it's poly, they can get all these women, have all this sex, and just sell them on a dream in a hope. And then they're actually being supplied the financial stability through the people who are participating. And at that point, it's just ridiculous and it's pimping. So just be aware of that. Be aware of that. And, oops, sorry. I know that. But yeah, dating couples can be challenging, but very rewarding and very nice. It is also a safety thing. I don't want to go too long here, guys, but a safety net. That is one thing that I will say. It feels very safe. Not all the time, like I just told you, there's some people who are out here playing games, but it's a safety net. If they have a good partner, their partner will check them when they are being unfair or whatever. Not only check them, but check you. So you want to have that good balance where, hey, I was talking to someone and their partner is there. It makes you feel safe. The stability, the longevity of their relationship will make you feel very safe, because you know that their relationship has lasted a while. They've built something that is, sound, and that you want to be part of that. So that's very inviting, and that's how those quote unquote pimps get you in there sometimes, to make you believe that there's stability in that. And so you got to be careful and to kind of vet that out. But when you do find people who are actually looking for partners who already coupled up, it can be very nice and very rewarding to have that. So if you do want to jump into that, know that. And then I guess there are a little couple cautions there and there, but overall, I think couples are a good choice if you're thinking about going to poly and you're not sure if it's something for you. Couples can provide that, like I said, stability. They also will show you how to manage relationships, because you'll be with more than one person from the start. You're jumping into two partners, so that is different. When you do them individually, it's like you're adding, stacking. So I will say check out partners, couples for dating, and just vet them out separately and together. And if you also are interested in some other videos about, like I said, the line between friends and partners, you need to check that out and go back into my videos, look that up. And you can see it. And like I said, I'll do an updated video on that because I want to make sure that was clear. And then maybe even have a panel talk about that. So I definitely want to pull that out there. I appreciate you guys for listening to me. Like I said, it's been an hour. I may do a Ask Miss Polly this afternoon, and which I just go live on Tag and on here, and then people ask me questions throughout the day, and then I just answer them. So I'm heading down that lane now. So I will see you guys again. Thank you for participating. Dale, King and Dream, salute to you guys. Thank you for joining. And anyone else who has stopped by, if you haven't subscribed, please do check out some of the other material we have and lovely guests we've had on our show. And I'll let you guys be great. I appreciate it. Okay, guys, I'll see you again. Bye.